It is Free Comedy Friday, but I just had one of the most interesting conversations ever with Dan Cummins, who's performing at the La Jolla Comedy Store this weekend. You're a stand-up comedian,
right?
But your interests lie in so many different things. Like we were just breaking down cults.
Yeah, that was
and
deep.
Crime.
Wait a minute.
Murder.
It was a crazy conversation.
It was a little dark.
Fantasy football.
That's cute. That's a fun little topic. But this is way better because Dan, you have a podcast called Timesuck, where you guys are into all this stuff. I mean, it's not just a true crime podcast. You guys deal with like all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we talk about it's nice. It's been it's talking about cults. I get a little cult following off that. We got like a weird group of great people who listen. But
I'm tuning in now, man. I'm in.
It's been growing, and we talk about one thing a week, and it can be true crime or paranormal or cults. You know, we were talking about like this area, like what podcast subjects have I done around here, and like Heaven's Gate.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was just saying that I had like a soft spot for Marshall Applewhite because he's one of the few cult leaders, especially kind of like doomsday guys, who actually wasn't like a cruel person. He was nuts.
Oh, well, yeah.
But he wasn't trying to hurt anybody. You could leave if you wanted to. He just wanted to get on the spaceship and ride behind the comet and, and put on his tracksuit.
Sounds fun.
Yep.
Yeah, but he was never abusive, which is very rare. Because then we were talking about Koresh and other people. Usually they're super manipulative and super just
only
terrible
I
people.
Get to have sex with the women.
Right.
Things like that.
It always takes that pivot.
How do you start this cult?
Right.
Sorry.
We've done so many, and it is funny. It always takes that pivot where it always starts off with like, okay, initially it's just a good message.
It's a religious thing.
Right. It usually comes from religion almost every time. And usually it's just like, hey, this is how we do it. We spread the word this way. And it starts off, kind of quasi legit. Usually it's an offshoot from another church. Usually they recruit members like Koresh, Seventh-day Adventist. He was in that and he's like, hey, come on. I got this other day I'm working on.
Yeah.
I got
a better way.
I got a side project.
Yeah.
A little side project.
and they and it's a slippery slope because people are like, oh, why would you be part of this crazy cult? It's like, yeah, well, they don't open with, I'm going to take your wife day one. Right? Day two, I'm going to beat you into submission.
Yeah.
It's like, they ease them in.
Yes.
And then
it's always, this is God's plan and God's way for me to be the only person that gets to have sex with your women.
Yep. And that's when you got to get out.
Manipulate you.
What?
Yeah.
And what do you think about Scientology then?
Oh, I think Scientology is a cult as well. It's a weird thing where it feels like once a cult reaches a certain amount of members, then it almost like by default becomes a religion, I guess.
Like kind of legit,
right? Kind of legit, but
so many people.
A lot of people define like the difference between like a cult and religion because they are very similar. If you look at but it basically like if a cult is, they will not let you out. They try to separate you from your family, your friends, isolate you, and that's why I think Scientology is more of a cult.
Yeah,
because the whole suppressive person thing.
Yeah.
And I've talked
Katie
to people.
Holmes.
Yeah, right.
We had Leah Remini on, and she just goes off about it.
Oh
yeah. Leah Remini, I used to do reality TV just a little bit like when I was in LA, worked on a bunch of shows as like a consulting producer, and I worked on Leah Remini's first show. Something about like Leah's family. It wasn't the Scientology.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we were trying to get her to go the Scientology route then because that stuff was happening in her real life, and she just wasn't quite ready to make that battle public.
Yeah.
But it was happening privately, and I remember she told me that right after she broke, because her parents had been in it for a long time.
Yeah.
All that family stuff. Well, they're still living around the same people that they went to church with.
Yeah.
But since they've been labeled suppressive people, like in the grocery store, people that had known them for like 25 years would see them and immediately just like look away, leave the store, because they had been told forbidden. Like you do not talk to them anymore.
That's so crazy.
Insane.
Right.
Wow.
That one's crazy to me where, just to like tease a little bit, like, I feel like the older religions get a pass because there's this mystery around. You weren't there in the, original. It just seems like the story seems more legit. But I feel like Scientology, like he's a writer, L. Ron Hubbard, and I feel like he didn't work real hard on the mythology. Like, amazed he got it well, because it feels really like just kind of like hastily put together.
Yeah.
Like, what is this about as Xenu? And he's I don't know, he's got these souls frozen, and he put them on volcanoes, and he nuked them. Why? Because he's a bad guy. And he got stuck in a mountain, and they're like, what? I'm in. But that's another one too. I've heard, and I haven't been in it, but I've heard what they do is you pay to level up. And I've heard a lot of people like when they are so angry when they make it to the final level because you get like these secrets and there's like a ceremony, and then you just get told this crazy story about Xenu that's just so kind of like, what?
Yeah.
I've been in this for 15 years.
Yeah.
And that's the end game. That's the thing.
Well, clearly it worked on Tom Cruise.
Yeah, well, he's on it.
Yeah.
I've heard weird stories about that too. I'm like, because I thought, like, why would Tom Cruise? He's so powerful. Like, he doesn't need this.
I know.
But when you're a superstar of his level, and again, this is just what somebody is like, kind of broke it down for me. They're like, well, this gives him even more of an ego stroke because he's basically like a quasi god.
Yeah, he's head honcho.
Right. In their levels. Because there was this, I can't remember the terminology now, but like Kane or almost like from like kind of old historical terms, but like Travolta, I remember actually Leah Remini talked about this on a Joe Rogan thing.
Okay.
He reached such a high level that there's some, I don't know, doctrine in there where technically if like Tom Cruise or John Travolta were to kill somebody in front of you, like literally just murder someone in front of you, as a lower level Scientologist, you are to not ask questions, you are to help dispose of the body quickly and never talk about it because if they killed them, it must have been necessary.
What?
Holy crap.
Like technically, like this thing. I mean, not that that's happening.
Yeah.
What? They could if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, well, Tom did what he needed to do. She was a little sassy.
Yeah, she didn't like risky business.
She thought the sock scene was dumb, so he did what he had to do.
She never saw all the right moves.
You're done.
You're asking for it.
She didn't want to see the next Top Gun movie, so she had to go.
Now I agree with that. Now I agree with that.
Yeah. Now we're on board. We're
Check
cleaning
out
up the
Dan
body.
performing all weekend long at the La Jolla Comedy Store. The podcast is Timesuck.
Yeah.
Now you guys talk about paranormal stuff too.
Yeah.
Are you a believer?
wow.
Okay, this, I'm going to sound like a crazy person.
No, I love it. Go.
Because this happened last night. Last
stop
night I had a show. I swear this happened. It's the only time this has ever happened to me in my whole life.
Okay.
I was doing a show at the Comedy Store in L.A. last night, and before the Rainbow Room, that famous kind of like rock tavern, like Lemmy and all those guys hanging out years ago. It's dark, kind of, grungy place. And right before dinner, I go up to just use the bathroom upstairs. Walk in. It's a very small, dingy bathroom, 2 urinals, 1 stall.
Okay.
Walk in. No one else is in there. It's kind of quiet. Halfway through, I'm just, taking a pee, and I just hear like the faucet on. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like it's really on full blast.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's weird that I didn't notice that. And I look over, and it's so hot, it's like steaming. It's just the hot side of the faucet. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I guess I just didn't notice, but it was weird that I distinctly seem to remember, like, right now I hear the faucet.
It's
Right.
wrong, yeah.
So I finish, wash my hand, turn it off, like, test the water. Okay, that was weird. Go downstairs, and it just felt eerie. And nothing like this has ever, I've heard other people's stories, but never me.
Yeah.
And one of the waitresses, she comes over, and I'm like, hey, this is weird. I'm like, I'm usually not this guy. But, is there, like, stories of, like, hauntings here? And she goes, oh, yeah. She's like, all the time.
Really?
And yeah. And I go, this is crazy. But I go, I was just in the bathroom. No one else was there. And I swear to God, this happened. I go, no one else is there. She goes, oh, the faucet.
No.
Before you even told her?
Stop
Yeah,
it,
before
dude.
I told
Stop
her.
it,
Sam
dude.
Kinison.
Before I told her, and I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, it turned on, right? I'm like, oh, and right now I just got the
Yeah,
chills.
I know, dude,
I see
no.
him.
And then the craziest thing was, so then later, I'm like, no way. So I go up later and just turn the hot water thing on again and leave it on to see if it never gets steamy, hot.
Because it's an older building, so it's
Right,
like...
I leave it for like a minute, and I'm like, how did it was that hot earlier when I was in there? Like, why wouldn't it? So that freaked me out.
That happened last
night. That happened last night.
Wow, dude.
So do we think there's a
Creep me
spirit attached to you and in here right
I
now?
don't know.
I didn't say
Please
it.
no.
I don't
Please
know.
no.
Is he bringing
Please no.
Los Angeles
But I-
ghosts down here?
No.
But I've been so skeptical of that stuff my whole life,
Yeah,
and
me
I've
too.
heard so many stories. That's the only time, but I'm like, today I'm trying to rationalize it still.
Right.
How can you?
I don't know.
Like,
I know for a head. I'm like, oh, they got a joke faucet, and they mess with people. There's some guy downstairs. He's like, you ready to tell them about the hunting? Okay, I'm gonna turn on the hot water.
Okay, we'll get this guy.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, it's
It
Richard Pryor,
scared
bro,
me.
or somebody like that. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's so hot.
It's weird to.
crazy.
And actually, and I don't know if it's on my brain more. My wife says it's like, oh, it's because you're thinking about this. Because we're doing another podcast that we just did the trailer out called Scared to Death, where I look up crazy paranormal,
no.
supposedly true stories, tell them to my wife every week in a dark room. We have occult objects all over the room, and she's like, "You're inviting that into our lives." And I'm never someone who believes that, but if that stuff starts happening more, I might shut that podcast
Yeah,
down.
that's a
I
good
agree.
idea.
I agree.
That's a good idea.
I don't want that in
You
my
open the
life.
door.
No.
There's a famous story in Motley Crue's book, The Dirt,
Oh, yeah,
where Nikki Sixx started to get into that kind of stuff and Satanism, and he was like starting to get into it. And he was just doing it for kind of funsies and stuff like that.
Sure.
Funsies.
And it was like,
Who doesn't?
you know,
Satan for funsies.
when you're looking for funsies, you know, you get
You
into
gotta do what
Satan
you gotta
stuff.
do. It.
And then he said weird stuff started happening where like books started flying across the room and things
God.
like that. And he's like, all right, Maybe I'm not.
Yeah.
Maybe I was just kidding. I was all for funsies. Like, no, I'm out.
Just kidding, devil. Don't want you in my life.
Literally shouting at the devil. Listen, you got to see Dan. He's performing at the La Jolla Comedy Store this weekend. Yeah, you can check out the podcast too, Timesuck, all that stuff. And you're getting ready for another special?
Yeah, going to tape a new special in Detroit.
So you're working on new stuff right now?
Yeah, so I got we're just like running it, a couple more times before we tape it.
That's awesome. So you get the real preview.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
I feel like, it is nice. People don't know all the time with comics. Like, you're always in some state of evolving your act, like to get ready for recording. And if you can see somebody right before they tape, better than right after.
Oh, okay.
Because right after, you kind of go into rough draft mode. So like the audience doesn't know, be like, you're going to hear the new stuff.
Yeah.
Not quite as good as 2 weeks ago.
Oh, there you go. Awesome. Good talking to you, Dan.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, check them out at the La Jolla Comedy Store.